Men's World Cup generates $6 billion in revenue. The Women's World Cup generates $131 million in revenue. If you want to talk about pay disparity, the Women's World Cup players get paid out 20% of the total revenue. The men get paid out 7%. As a percentage point, they are getting much more.
So it was recently announced that the women's soccer team will receive the ESPN Courage Award at the ESPY ceremony this July 2023. And to me personally, I can't see what's so courageous about arguing for more money. But apparently in our current society, arguing for more money is more important than saving lives, which is what former NFL running back Peyton Hillis had done when he saved his son and niece from drowning at a beach in Florida. So in my opinion, he should win the Courage Award. But in any event, they're going to give this award to the women's soccer team for basically pushing a narrative that is a lie, that there is a gender pay gap based upon sex. And it got me thinking, do people actually believe there is a pay gap due to this inequality? And apparently, those people do exist.
So today I'm out here and the question I'll be asking is the gender pay gap real?
Yes, it is. Men get paid more for whatever they do and women get less for doing the same amount.
Totally agree with that.
The one thing that people forget about the pay gap, there are certain jobs that men do that women do not do.
Honestly, I think.
Exactly. Like, for instance, working on an oil rig or working in a mine when you have to go underneath the earth. Those are jobs women are not going to do. Maybe a few would do it, but very little. And it basically shows that men have more of a proclivity to do more dangerous jobs because there's more of a burden on a man to earn an income than there is for women. And that has nothing to do about inequality. It's just how it is.
I think it depends on the industry. Yeah, I'm a physical therapist. The ratio between male and female is about equal. And I don't really see a difference in terms of pay.
Majority of the time in a lot of corporate roles, yes. When there's higher roles, it typically is given to men.
Men are more interested in things. Women are more interested in people, but also.
Agree. Well, women are better at nurturers. For instance, I remember a while back, like a few years ago, needed to get a babysitter for my daughter. And I went through an app. And through the app, it just gave the person's name. There was no picture. And the person's name was like something like Brianna, but it looked like it was spelled like Brian. So I thought it was a man. And I said to myself, if a man shows up at my door to babysit my daughter, I'm going to turn them away. And, that's quite natural. Even her mother wouldn't want a man to be watching her, to babysit her. That's a natural thing. It doesn't mean that he can't do the job. It's that the perception doesn't jive well with a lot of people. Same thing if a woman came over to do your plumbing. Doesn't mean she can't do it, but people feel more comfortable in that situation with a man as opposed to a woman. If you want to say it's sexist, cool, it is sexist. Being sexist is not all bad. That's part of biology.
So if you're a girl who happens to be interested in things, then you're probably going to make the same amount of money.
Do we have a woman president yet?
No.
Oh, thank God. No, but we almost had one with Hillary Clinton. Thank God she didn't become president, because she did. This war in Ukraine probably would happen earlier. We probably would have had a war in Syria, but that's another issue for another day.
But what do you think that has to do with the pay gap?
There's highly opinionated male energy. We have been deprived of our abilities to express world peace.
Okay, I admit that women were deprived of their abilities back in the day, but that's not the situation right now. It is in 2023. That is not the issue right now.
Some rights that men have that women don't then.
Oh, that's a really...
Men statistically get paid more than women, even in the same position of power.
Do you work a job at the moment?
No, I don't.
Okay, got it. So let's say that if the pay gap does exist, right, and that employers can get away with paying women less, wouldn't more jobs want to hire more women then?
Exactly. And that's not the case here. We don't see a lot of women getting hired in a lot of jobs over men, because we know that this doesn't exist. Just think about it. If this was happening, there'll be a lot of lawsuits. There is a law, I think it was a 1963 Equal Pay Act, that basically discriminates, that if an employee discriminates based upon sex, that can be sued. So all I'm going to ask you is then, where are the lawsuits? Show me the lawsuits. Because that would prove to me that yes, there is a gender pay gap based on sex. But since there is no lawsuits, then you ain't got no proof.
Men, especially men in power, think that women below them can't do the job as well. So that's one of the reasons they do get paid less. They want men to fill those roles because they want the men to go up in power.
To me, this whole talk and this whole topic about gender pay gap is just a circular argument to cause division between the sexes of men and women. That's all it is, because they had no substance to base this upon. It's based on just subjectivity as opposed to objectivity.
Again, trusting a men's word over women's. As a woman, you have to do more to prove that you deserve it more.
Have you personally experienced discrimination when it comes to pay because of your gender?
Yeah, definitely. Me asking for a raise would definitely impact me staying there compared to other people there.
All of this should be predicated on skill. I'm a woman, you're a man, and we go for the same job. We should both get the same opportunity.
Correct. It's about meritocracy. Because I would admit that there's a pay gap between men and women, but it's valid. It's based on experience. It's based on, as the gentleman says, skill. It's based on the fact that men tend to work more hours, do more dangerous jobs, do jobs work late at night to get shift differential pay. Women have take more time off for vacation, sick time, maternity. Men do have paternity leaves, but it's very rare compared to maternity leaves for women when they get children, and rightfully so. Women need time off to bear a child. That's very important. So there is a gender pay gap, but it's valid.
Because I'm starting to see now, people are not getting jobs because companies, they have to fill those jobs so that it looks good on their end. So,
Like quotas.
yeah, a quota, case by case.
Affirmative action. That's what it's all about. And that hurts the productivity for the long run for the employer.
All depends.
In general, do you think there are differences, though, when it comes to competitiveness, risk-taking, and ambition between men and women in general that contributes to different pays?
I don't think personality and characteristics have anything to do with how successful you can be in a corporate role.
Wait, really? You don't think any effect at all?
I think, no, there is going to be some effect. It depends on what exactly you're doing in the company.
Obviously, personality and characteristics do affect your ability to get a job and to perform and so forth, because you have to work with other people 9 out of 10 times at most jobs. So this guy must be unemployed.
As well, women are more agreeable, and sometimes they can just say, okay to things when it's actually not okay, and they probably should, push forward a little bit more.
Like for me and for some of my girlfriends, we had to personally push for like a promotion. Whereas we have a coworker who's just like, oh yeah, he offered this promotion to me. So that's just one example from like myself.
What do you think some barriers are that like women face in the workplace?
I have like friends who are scared to take like maternity leave because what if they come back and they're behind?
Sexuality. Are we getting promoted based on our level of intelligence, or are we only given an opportunity of how much we can give or those favors?
There is some level of sexism involved that is very negative, and we have to do our best to get rid of. So I'm not saying that all of the gender pay gap is valid, but what I'm saying is that most are. Same thing with racism. I'm not saying there is no racism. It's just that it's very minute.
It's clear. Do you think there are some industries where women are paid more than men?
I don't really know.
I guess like maybe like one that comes to mind is like perhaps modeling.
Modeling, that's a tricky industry because it comes up to the status of the model. Kendall Jenner, because of her status, she's going to be getting paid a lot more.
Modeling, you have skinny models and you have overweight models. You really don't see men overweight models. Women.
Yeah, that's correct. You're not going to see a lot of male overweight models because we know that's not something appeasing to the woman. And we also know as men that we need to stay in shape. We need to be better. And even if we don't stay in shape, we know that a man that does not stay in shape, we criticize him.
Do you think then that there are some industries where women have an advantage in versus there are some industries where men make more because there's more of a general interest in it?
Sports is a big thing for men. Male athlete competitions are more favored by the public.
Look at the NBA, for example. Like the WNBA doesn't get as much streamings as the NBA does because of this whole cycle of sexism.
So I guess it's also...
What? What did she say? Because of sexism? Oh my God. This was the same young lady that said that Kylie Jenner makes more as a model because of her status. So there's no sexism implied there, but there is sexism implied in sports. What about LeBron James' status compared to Brittany Griner or any other WNBA player? See, that's the thing. I mean, it has no substance to stand upon, this whole gender pay gap, because the woman's going to go by their feelings based on their perception of the situation as opposed to the reality of the situation. And unfortunately, some men are falling into that same trap. I mean, she made no sense. She basically contradicted herself right there. My God, man.
Also based on demand, wouldn't you say?
We live in a capitalist society, and therefore we value people's worth on demand. And that's
In that instance, wouldn't taking into account be the most fair way and the most meritocratic way to determine who gets paid the most or least?
Yeah, that is based on demand, and more companies will get paid depending on how good the product there is, and that hence kind of what.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's all about productivity in order to generate that revenue. You got to be efficient. You got to be proficient. And that's only going to happen when there's meritocracy as opposed to affirmative action or to, give in to this whole gender pay gap myth.
Products are popular now, modern days,
Why do you think women are underrepresented in certain positions that are very desirable at the moment, such as STEM jobs, as well as even executive jobs in general?
Because choice. Women choose not to go into STEM jobs, the science, technology, engineering, math. They choose not to go in as much. Some do. And they'll make it up pretty high because of affirmative action. It means pretty rare to see a female engineer, but they're out there. So that's the thing. The ability's out there. So this tells me that it's not about equality. This is all about equity. This is basically a tenet of communism.
It's not that they're not getting the opportunities. They have to apply to these jobs. I'm a network engineer. I'm a plant engineer. I work outside. Exactly. Women can't just start from here and go to there. But we are seeing that. If women get into jobs that are men dominated, you actually have an opportunity to move up. This is
Exactly. He's very true right there. Very true.
going to take time. This just started happening. People have to get positions and you have to stay in those positions.
Opponents that say that the gender pay gap isn't real would say that it's a myth propagated by feminism. What would you say to that?
I mean, we have statistics, right?
Yeah, I think the common statistics out there is they say that.
Yeah, like I said, you have the statistics, but the reasoning behind the statistics has to be voiced. Otherwise, people's going to believe that it's due to inequality.
It didn't take into account industry by industry. They took all the different pays and apparently didn't account for certain factors.
Yeah, I think it's real, but at the same time, you also have women making more than men. So it happens. It's not a myth, but at the same time, you see success stories where women are more successful too. So there's hope.
Do you think personal choices also have an account? For example, for a woman maybe giving birth. Do you think that impacts the gender pay gap in general?
Biologically, yes, there are differences. I think it's person to person because I'm a male that's interested in caretaking. Now it's like a change of roles and people.
Yeah, that's rare that a man's gonna be interested in caretaking. I guess this guy probably will be, but most men are not. We're not wired that way, and there's nothing wrong about that. And if a man wants to be a caretaker, go ahead. But I'll tell you one thing: a man that's a caretaker and wants to stay home and so forth, it's not gonna be that appeasing and that attractive to most women. Just like a woman that's very aggressive and masculine, it's not gonna be that appeasing and attractive to most men. So you're basically going against the grain in those type of situations. But you have your choice. But once you choose it, accept what comes with it.
People realizing, oh, I can do more, and same thing with men.
Do you think that's happening in a macro way in certain jobs? Men are performing better, and vice versa.
I believe what happens is you come in and they say, okay, men and female lifting forklift, okay, female doesn't work here. You wouldn't even get to the point of the interview to get to find out about this. Women are portrayed as weaker, so there's way easier to just push no, you don't need more money.
I totally disagree with her on that one. But anyway, all I can say is that what I noticed that a lot of times most women, they tend to take certain circumstances and impose their own biases. And by doing that, they tend to, reach bad conclusions, and that is why this myth of gender pay gap due to sex is still a topic that people still believe in, unfortunately. And for men that agree with this myth, they just seem to be, wanting to be appeasing and malleable and somewhat passive on the issue, which is very, in my opinion, very masculine and weak. A lot of times women don't like a man that's very assertive at first, but over time, they tend to get in line and follow that man. Seriously. So I think if men continue to, put this argument of gender pay gap to rest, eventually will fade away. But let me know. Leave a comment down below. Do you believe that there is a gender pay gap, and what can be done to fix it?